Donald Trump has been hit 3 separate times just this week in the various legal challenges that he faces. And here's what you need to know about all that. And I want to start with the most exciting one. I'm not going to drag it out. This is one that I thought was going to go the other way. And thankfully, it did not. So just since yesterday's show, the judge overseeing the classified documents case has rejected Donald Trump's legal team's bid to dismiss the case based on their misinterpretation of the Presidential Records Act. So the charges that he sought to dismiss, according to Judge Eileen Cannon, quote, make no reference to the Presidential Records Act, nor do they rely on that statute for purposes of stating an offense. As such, the PRA, quote, does not provide a pretrial basis to dismiss. Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait, click join now on YouTube. That's a good point. The charges against him have nothing to do with the Presidential Records Act. It's all encapsulated within the Espionage Act. I do notice though that she says it doesn't provide a pretrial basis to dismiss. Now it should not provide a trial basis to dismiss either, because again, he's not being charged under it and they have no idea what the Presidential Records Act actually does. But that said, while she has not done what I feared earlier in the week that she would, which is provide this easy out based on a legal theory that the Trump legal team wishes applied, that doesn't mean that it won't pop up again. And the reason that I was surprised was that last month, Cannon had asked both the prosecution as well as the defense to prepare potential jury instructions that would take the Presidential Records Act into account. Special counsel Jack Smith's team wrote in a court filing on Tuesday that Cannon's request was based on a, quote, fundamentally flawed legal premise, which is, that's harsh words against the judge. And she apparently had some harsh words against him as well. Take a look at this.
It's interesting, in her decision today on the motion to dismiss, she did punch back a little bit at the special counsel, and she insisted that their request that they get a clarity on this issue of jury instructions before the trial starts, because they've said, look, if you're gonna put this issue in the trial, if you're gonna allow this in, we're probably gonna appeal. She said that their demand was, quote, unprecedented and unjust.
And unjust. Well, anyway, so he didn't get what he wanted on that. Now we are gonna update you on some of the other cases, but Brett wanted to give you a chance to jump in. What do you make of that? It's not gonna be a PRA thing.
Oh, that's great. And it wasn't gonna be, and Trump's group didn't really even mention the PRA in their, argument why it should be dismissed. This is just a time to think about the process itself. This is the time when they try to get the whole thing thrown out before it can start. And it's a lot of why not arguments. Take a swing, why not? Why don't we make this argument that this is the dumbest thing ever made? And then your argument as to why the other team's argument sucks has to inherently say that their premise is fundamentally flawed. And another thing you need to think about is judges are people humans. And a lot of times they're people humans that aren't necessarily the best legal minds or lawyers in the world, but they're the ones who seem to be most crucial to an overarching judge placement process and strategy by one party or another. And that plays out when you hear, oh, this is one of Trump's judges. These are conservative judges. These are, we put them in robes so that they seem like floating heads that don't care about anything other than reason. And we put them in big daises so they loom large over everyone, but they're just people. And so sometimes they do have fundamentally flawed legal premises, and you kind of have to walk that line of not insulting them, but pointing out that doesn't work, Your Honor. And sometimes really smart legal minds that are judges ask you questions that they know the answers to, but they want to see if you know the answers to them. So
sure. Yeah, and this might have been a case of that. It's just that when it's Eileen Cannon, like a fear creeps up. And the thing is, I'm glad that you point out, like we throw around terms like Trump appointed, Biden appointed. And I think that a lot of people use that as like a get out of jail free card. It's like, oh, they were appointed by this person, so obviously they're biased. But no, but it's not obvious. It doesn't mean that they're always biased. And not even just for judges, like the special counsel that investigated Biden. I talked about this earlier this week. He took a couple cheap shots, but he didn't like just try to take down Biden just because he happened to have, been a Republican or whatever. It's that in the case of Eileen Cannon, she has given us reason to fear that she is biased. Not just because of what she's done, but because of what she hasn't done, which is much of anything, which is delaying the trial. And so that's why people are afraid. And so on the other side, when they throw around, that like the AG is a Democrat or something, so that's why they're going after Biden. It's not that and evidence, it's just they're a Democrat. It's shorthand. I don't need to prove the case. With Eileen Cannon, we're not simply telling you that Trump put her there. We're describing all the things she's done step by step over the course of months that have made us suspicious about her lack of impartiality. And to that end, we still don't know exactly when this trial is going to happen. It was originally scheduled to begin in May, but a delay is expected. Smith has proposed a July 8th start date, but Cannon has yet to set a new date. And even following this ruling, we still don't know. So it still may not actually happen, certainly not before the election.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.